Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Bob's Live, our weekly show right here on the internet. And this week, we're actually having it on the correct day at the correct time. So we're live every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Here on Facebook, X, YouTube, and Rumble. So you can find us in all those locations, plus over on our website at bobsmarket.com/live. And well, this week I'm starting to tackle some gardening projects at home, and then also have some helpful hints now that the weather is getting hotter. And well, I thought we would dig right into it. And up first, let's take a quick look at the weather. So, right now, it is 85 degrees outside here at Mason, and it is beautiful weather out compared to what we've been having with all the rain. Um, and pretty much it is sunshine across the entire region right now. And looking ahead, we're not looking at rain all the way up until Friday. So this is a great week to get out and start working on gardening projects. Last night I planted my flower beds in front of my house, which you're going to see that here in a second. And then tonight I'm actually planning on tilling up the garden, and then I'm going to be doing some planting later on this week. So I've got that planned so I can start getting my summer gardening cooking now that we're getting some dry weather. And I know a lot of folks are out right now baling hay and doing all of that stuff. So farmers and gardeners in our region are really busy right now. And well, along with that, you can check out our weekly podcast, the Keep Growing Podcast. It comes out every Saturday. And I would say that it kind of meshes with this show. Um, One of the things that I cover is kind of an updated forecast on Saturday. It comes out at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning. But it also takes a look at the gardening tasks for the week ahead based off the Gardening Almanac. And it's geared specifically for our area here in the Mid Ohio Valley. So if you listen to podcasts, check it out. I try to keep it in the 5 to 10 minute range. That way, it's a quick thing that you can kind of listen to on Saturday morning to kind of put you in the mood, if you're a weekend warrior and trying to knock out gardening tasks over the weekend. Um, Speaking of gardening tasks, last night I was out planting flower beds in front of my house. And the one that I'm going to share is the garden bed that is like right at the entrance to my driveway. So when you're driving down my little street, there's a little gardening bed or a little stone flower bed that I have like right out next to the street. And I've got like a little sign there with our house number and stuff, and it just kind of welcomes people to our yard. And well, that's what I was planting last night. And this year I'm going with something unique. And if you've seen the title for this week's episode, um, you might have noticed that it says chaos gardening. And that's what I'm going for. I just picked out a little bit of everything this year, and I'm chucking it all in and seeing what happens. So I already sort of do the same thing in my backyard with my wildflower garden, and I wanted to kind of bring that same look to the front of the house. So I think it's going to be interesting. Um, it's going to be, yeah, an interesting experiment. So let's check that out. This evening, I am planting this flower bed at the entrance to my house. And well, this year I decided to do a mixture of plants and colors. So I just
almost blindfolded myself while I went through the greenhouse, and I just picked stuff at random. So I am looking out here. This area gets full sun, so all of these plants can take full sun. And then I'm doing the same thing in next to my house where it's more in the shade. So I've got a mix of plants there that could take sun to shade. And well, I think it's going to be an interesting experiment this year. It's going to be kind of a wild mixture of color. And that's what I'm going for, is a bunch of different colors and textures. So let's get planting. So one of the hardest things you can do is try to create a random planting, because our brains don't do random. We like patterns. So trying to break it up and come up with something random is kind of hard to do. So what I'm doing is just kind of chucking stuff in, and then I'm going to go back and kind of move stuff around a little bit. I've already planted down there, which I did have to kind of not go random there, because I don't want to block my street sign. So that has our house number on it. So I'm obviously not going to show that in the video. But yeah, it's something that I do want to be visible. And this is also going to be an interesting experiment, because stuff's going to compete with other stuff in this planting. I've got some stuff that spreads, some stuff that stays kind of compact. It'll be interesting to see what happens over the course of the summer. Something that I forgot to grab out of my other mixes, some begonias. They can take sunlight. Let's see. Do that one there and that one there. Okay. I think that's random-ish. I've done a lot of work on this bed, amending the soil. And now it's really paying off. Like, it is soft and beautiful and dark. That bed I'm still working on, which I've got weed problems in it. Now that is chaotic. One last one I missed here. All right, and here we have the finished product. I just covered it up with a little bit of mulch. That'll help hold in the moisture this summer once it gets, hot and dry. We've had some crazy rainy weather recently. I would have actually planted this a long time ago, but the weather just hasn't been cooperating. But this is the start of my, I don't know what you would call it, chaos garden bed. And we'll see how it develops over the course of the summer. So now I'm off to work on the other bed in front of my house. I think I have enough time to get it before it completely gets dark out here.
All right, so yeah, that is my chaos garden. And by planting a mixture of stuff, uh, yeah, it's going to get interesting because I crammed a lot of plants into a small space, and they're plants with different growth habits. So they're going to get different heights. Some of them spread, some of them stay compact. Some of them are more tolerant of the drier summer weather once we get into kind of the dog days of summer, like July and August. So I expect some of those plants, they're probably going to die off later on in the summer, and some of them are going to kind of spread and take over. So that's something that I'm fully expecting, and I think that's going to be some of the fun of it. This was actually kind of a garden trend a while back, was chaos gardening, or just kind of, random gardening. And I thought I would kind of revive it this year and kind of do my own spin on it. So, yeah, I have fun going through and just kind of grabbing stuff at the market. Our 32 count flats, you can mix and match those. So that's what I did. I know it takes 3 flats to do those 3 flower beds. So I just grabbed 3 flats. I knew one area was sun. The other 2 needed to go in more shade. Full shade to part shade. And then I just went through and picked plants based off of that. And based off their light tolerance. But I didn't really pay attention to what the plant was or color. So I think that's going to be a fun experiment. And yeah, I mentioned there at the end that I put mulch in around everything. And that is to help conserve moisture, because we have had a lot of rain early on in this spring, but I expect summer's coming. It's going to get dry at some point. And that's kind of where this next video comes in. So we're starting to get warmer weather. And if you have hanging baskets, you need to keep an eye on them that they don't dry out. And if you do forget about them and they dry out, how do you recover from that? I get pictures all the time through Facebook Messenger, and sometimes folks just text photos to me, and they think that their plant is too far gone. And I tell them to do exactly what I'm about to show you in this video, and usually it helps their plant recover and they're able to salvage it. So let's jump into watering your plants and how to save your plants if you forget to water them.
With the weather starting to warm up, you want to make sure that you're watering your hanging baskets regularly. On hot days, they can dry out quickly, so you want to make sure that you're checking them every day and giving them water. And the easiest way to check them is just to give them a lift. They should be nice and heavy if they're well watered. If it's feeling light, it definitely needs a drain. So what can you do if it dries out too much? Let's talk about that. So I came down here to the greenhouse to show you what you can do if you have a hanging basket that has dried out to the point that the plants are kind of getting wilty. You'll know this especially if it's like a New Guinean patient. It'll wilt down and the plant will look like it's in trouble. And the basket will be extremely light. So the easiest way to recover a plant like that is with a 5-gallon bucket of water. You want to take the hanging basket and simply place it into the bucket of water and let the water soak in from the bottom. And here's the thing, when you put the basket in, it will kind of float on top if you filled up the 5-gallon pot all the way. And you just want to let it sit there and soak for a little while until the plant starts to perk back up. Now, this basket, it does need some deadheading, but overall, it is watered well. I'm just kind of doing this for demonstration purposes. And when you pull the basket out, it should be noticeably heavier, and you should have water draining from the drain hole in the bottom of the basket. So now that you've saved your basket and you have it well watered and happy, let's talk about how to keep it happy. And that has to do with this. Fertilizing. You want to make sure that you're giving your hanging baskets fertilizer. So today I'm here at our Mason Market and Kill is out there watering. And if I zoom back, right here is where that water is coming from. And what this barrel right here is concentrated fertilizer that's being pumped up into this dosatron. And then we're pumping out a measured amount of fertilizer with the irrigation water. And it is the exact same fertilizer that we carry in our stores, Jack's Classic. It's actually what we use in the greenhouse when we're growing plants. So get yourself some Jack's. There's a ton of different options to choose from. So they have petunia feed specifically for petunias. You've got all-purpose fertilizers, acid special for things like azalea bushes and like your hollies and different types of plants like that. There's also, here we have Blossom Booster. It's more of a general for flowering plants. And then we also have vegetable feed, which I don't see it. Oh, here it is. So it has gone through a little bit of a rebranding. Tomato feed and vegetable feed are both the exact same fertilizer. So depending on the store location, you might see tomato feed or you might see vegetable feed. And I also almost forgot to mention Jack's Classic Coat, that is a time release fertilizer that you can add in, especially with your containers, to make sure they're getting a little dose of fertilizer every time you water. So that's all there is to it. In hot weather, make sure you're watering your baskets every day. You're giving them a little lift to make sure that they're nice and heavy. And you water them until water starts to run out the drain hole at the bottom. That way, you're sure that you're keeping them adequately watered. And, well, for this and other great information, head over to our website at bobsmarket.com.
And it's really as simple as that when it comes to watering your containers. With something like a hanging basket, it's easy because you can pick it up and kind of judge the water based off how heavy it is. Now, at home, going into my front door, I have this huge planter. When it's well watered, I can pick it up, but I could see somebody not in the amount of physical shape that I'm in, not being able to pick it up because it is pretty heavy when it's wet. So with that, you just want to go based off the drainage hole and water coming out. The danger though is if it dries out completely and you water it, water can just sort of run around that root ball. And you think that you've watered it adequately, but you haven't. And the same thing can happen with pots and hanging baskets. So that's kind of the danger that you want to look out for. So the easy way to check a larger container, or if you're not able to lift up on a hanging basket, the other way to check is with your finger. Just stick your finger down in the soil, feel around, it won't bite. and just feel how moist the soil is. If it's dry and crunchy and you can't jam your finger down into it, then you know that it definitely needs water, and it probably is at the point, if it's that dry, of needing to soak in either a bucket of water, or another thing that you can do is, if you have a pan, something like a 13 by 9 pan for a 10-inch pot, where it's got a little bit higher side on it, and you can fill it up with water, you can set it in that, let that water soak up into it, fill the pan up again, let it soak up into it until it doesn't want to take up any more water. But the main thing when you're doing that is you're letting it slowly absorb water like a sponge from the bottom. So yeah, that is how you rescue a plant. And I still want to torture test a New Guinea impatient sometime. Let it get all wilty and then do that method, because New Guinea impatiens, you get the most dramatic effect out of it. I've seen them, they're completely melted. You put them in a bucket of water, and within an hour, they stand back up. So what I'd like to do sometime is let one dry out until that happens, and then pop it in a bucket of water and start a time-lapse camera. And then we can speed it up and actually see it stand back up. So, well, that is a quick care tip on watering your baskets. And next week, we're going to be tackling garden planting. So right after I finish here, I'm heading home to till up the garden. And you better believe I'm going to be recording it. So it'll be in an upcoming video. And, well, until next week, keep growing.